First of all, let me ask you, did you ever want to be married?
I was notoriously everyone's girlfriend for 4, 5, 6 years. But marriage just was not on my radar. It wasn't until much later when I realized and I woke up like, girl, you didn't miss that moment when you were supposed to be on that. And now you're like, I think I might want to get married. And brothers is like, but you are 40-something years old. You got 2 kids, 2 different daddies. You know what I mean? All these things.
So this is a topic that actually for a long time was very, very sensitive for me. And if my younger self would have told me that, or if my younger self knew that I was going to talk about not being married and being over the age of 40, I think I would have freaked out because it's often been very sensitive.
It's a beautiful night. We're looking for something dumb to do.
Welcome to the Lion Live channel. You saw the thumbnail to this video, and that's why you're here. So I'm going to let these 3 ladies inform all my lions out there on one of the realities in the real world for those of you who are seeking marriage with a heterosexual modern woman. So pay attention. Don't forget to subscribe and like up the channel. You see me?
So Akila, you have 2 kids, not married, never was married. Both of your kids are by different fathers. How did you reconcile that in the church, seeing people coupled up, believe in God? First of all, let me ask you, did you ever want to be married?
So I'll say this. I grew up with my parents who were married, 30 years. Everyone in my family was married. I saw marriage. I saw couples. But honestly, it never even occurred to me as a young adult. I was notoriously everyone's girlfriend for 4, 5, 6 years for most of my young adulthood. But marriage just was not on my radar. I don't know why. It wasn't until much later when I realized and I woke up like, girl, you didn't miss that moment when you were supposed to be on that. And now you're like, I think I might want to get married. And brothers is like, but you are 40-something years old. You got 2 kids, 2 different daddies. You know what I mean? All these things. And so initially, no, it wasn't something that I sought after.
But I've never had children, etc. So I know a lot of you are probably like, well, why have you ever never been married? Let me first start out by just like real talk. I think one of the hardest things about never having been married, being over the age of 40, etc., is I've always been afraid of what people think about that. And maybe it's not the thing you're thinking about, right? There is a lot of societal pressure to be married, to have children, especially in certain cultures, in certain parts of the world, etc. So that exists. But interestingly enough, my parents never put a lot of pressure on me to get married and procreate, have children. In fact, sometimes I wish they put more pressure on me. Maybe I would have made it more a priority, but I don't blame this on them. I've always been worried about the stigma that I have always felt attached to it. My younger brother is married with a beautiful wife and a beautiful family. And my brother, I've always looked to for guidance and advice. I always say like he was like the normal one, the one with a lot of common sense between the 2 of us.
Because how long have you spread the misinformation to Black women? How long have you spread the strong and independent mantra? How long have you spread the girl don't settle? How long have you said that? How long have you all gave Black women this false hope that if they earn enough money, or if they get the right degree, or if they go to school for a certain amount of time, or they have a certain kind of career or whatever, or they live in a certain place, or they dress a certain way, or they drive a certain car, that automatically made them eligible, that they could use that instead of being feminine, that they could use their degree and their money to stand in for their womanhood and their femininity that was lacking and missing. That the men had to accept their educational or career or financial accolades and just do without their femininity and womanhood. So now you don't get to push that strong and independent forever and then come and drop a little nugget in there talking about, oh, well, if you want to do it, you should do it in college or right after. Right. Ain't that what we said? That if you want to get married, you should do that young and not old. Wait till you done been through all the men, or all the men done been through you. Now all of a sudden, when you 99 years old, you want to try to get locked down by somebody. Now nobody wants you. And ain't nobody shaming you because you got old. We shaming you because you didn't have sense enough to do it when you was young. That's why.
I'm dating, or rather, online dating and doing that whole online thing, which y'all know how I feel about that, but I'm trying.
So even when you gave birth to your first child, you didn't consider that person being someone you want to spend the rest of your life with?
Well, I look clean and polished right now. But my story and my journey, it's a little different. I enjoyed college and the relationships that I established, that resulted in my child, my oldest child. And so, no, there was no interest or thought of marrying him. Not because anything was wrong with him.
Yes, you're too much in the streets.
Yeah, great person. But, we just decided this was going to be a great business transaction.
Do it young women. Get married young. Change your attitude and your mindset. All of this hoe is life and going with all these men till you 35 and then you gonna settle down. No. I don't care what kind of woke progressive mindset or social standard gets presented. Men do not value women that wait too long for that. Your value and your attractiveness and all of that kind of stuff actually goes down. Do it. Strike when the iron is hot. If you've ever heard that expression before. Why is that expression an expression? Because when a blacksmith is creating something out of iron, it is only malleable when it is hot. The iron is only malleable when it is hot. When it's cold, it can no longer be shaped. So in order to shape and form iron, you must strike it when it is hot. That's where the expression comes from. Strike when the iron is hot. Strike when the iron is hot. The iron is hot when you are young. The iron is hot when you are malleable as a woman. The iron is hot when you understand your place as a woman. And that all this feminism and sexual liberation, that is not empowering you. That is not making you a better woman. It is destroying your value as a woman. And men know that. And no amount of indoctrination is going to change that. They're not going to see you any differently. Women have been fighting for the last 60 or 70 years to not be seen as sluts when they're being sluts, and men have not given in yet. Men are the gatekeepers of relationships and marriages went down. It's not because they don't like marriage. It's because they're gatekeeping it the way that they're supposed to. If you're not worthy, if the women in mass are not worthy to be married, then in mass they will not get married. The men did a better job gatekeeping relationships than women did gatekeeping sex. Y'all give y'all sex to anybody. It's too bad, so sad. You were the gatekeepers of sex. You should have gatekeeped it. Should have been a better gatekeeper. Should have been better at your job. You had one job. You should have been better at it. If the men wasn't up to par and blah, 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 you should have cut the sex. No, we don't give free sex. We don't do hookup culture. You're not able to just come, you know what I'm saying, and spit a little game and get all the sex that you want out of all the women you want. No, we're not doing that. But y'all didn't do that. Y'all wanted to be thought. And y'all allowed this culture to tell y'all that being a thought was somehow more empowering to you as a woman. And it is not. It wasn't then, it's not now, and it will never be.
And the second child, what was that about?
Child, okay, so I keep telling y'all, I was still out here a little bit, and and once again, I chose to birth my child, and I'm grateful, and I love him, and I've always stood by that decision to do that, and so no, that didn't occur to marry him either. Wasn't even really trying to date him, to be honest. So, sorry.
Because I love that, because oftentimes you can see a single mom and be like, oh my God, she had this deadbeat baby daddy, he wasn't this or whatever, he didn't marry her. And you don't really hear the woman that says, I wasn't trying to marry him either.
No, they didn't even know about him. My family said, what happened? Who are you having a child with? So no, sorry, this is my truth.
This is your truth. Listen, you don't have to be apologetic about it.
Oh, I'm not.
So Akilah, so now you're 40 plus, and you are desiring marriage. Why?
I just realized, it's been a lot of work. I'm grateful that, I see the light with my son, my youngest, he's 4 years and he'll be headed off to college. So I see this light where I've dedicated my entire adulthood to being a mother since I was 21. And now I see this light and this opportunity where it's like, well, then this is going to be just me. And I'm starting to really think and reckon with, so what will that life look like when it's no longer fully dedicated to rearing these children, these amazing young men? And so I'm starting to question more, like, is this now like, and I've talked to some friends like, girl, it's a wrap. I'm about to be out here. I'm going to be traveling the world. I'm about to be living my best life. But then when I'm at night by myself and I'm thinking, but then you'll be traveling the world by yourself. You know what I mean? Like, Who are you going to be building memories with? Who are you going to be building a life with? Or as I think about the end days, right? I mean, I'm not saying, I plan on leaving anytime soon, but that's another chapter in my life. And I'm starting to question, like, how much, that I would like some companionship. I would like someone to share dreams with and build, businesses with and do all these wonderful things that I think about for myself and that I've thought about for my children. And so now I'm like, is that what I want to do by myself? And I have wonderful examples of that, seeing older couples and seeing how they're loving on each other, taking care of each other, as they're dealing with, aging. And I'm like, well, is it fair for me to be like, well, I'll just depend on my sons. I know y'all got me. And I'm starting to like, is that right?
Yeah.
And I do have desires.
Desires.
Yes, I'm trying not to sin.
Amen. Desires.
I have a family member literally who's here who once told me, like, the Bible says, to marry, so that you don't live a life of sin. And I'm like, oh, okay. And I had to look that back up, like that was in Corinthians. That's right. Okay. I need to study that word.
Why don't you drop down and come clean about where you really are emotionally? The loneliness that you actually feel. Why don't you tell young women about the reality of the wall? And how they don't want to do that. How they don't want to follow in your footsteps with that. Because that was not a good idea. Really tell them why. Don't just say get married when you're young. No. Tell them why. Tell them why it's a bad idea to do it the way you did it. Tell them why that didn't work. Tell them about how unfulfilled you are living in your nice place and driving your nice car and wearing your nice clothes and having your hair done all the time and having your nails done all the time and being able to travel when you want and being able to go out with your friends and all that. Tell them about the loneliness it is when all of that stuff is done. When you're done talking to this one and talking to that one. When you're done, when the lights go out, when you have to sit there in that nice home by yourself. Tell them about that part. Tell them about you wanting that family and really that being your reality. having to go to a sperm bank to get sperm that's barely there, that you have to pay for and go through all of these procedures to have a child, something that you should have naturally been able to do when you were young. Tell them that part. Tell them about the part where you immerse yourself in work and interviews and this and that, so you don't have to think about the fact that you don't have a man. Tell them about all them crazy thoughts that you have about the men that you wanted that's in your rearview mirror that you better not call, because those men have moved on with their lives and they found wives and they found women and they had children. And you weren't a part of it because you didn't want to be a part of it, because you thought you was too good to be part of it. Because at the time that you met him, he quote unquote wasn't on your level, so you just missed him. Talk about that part. Tell them about the part where you look in the mirror and you realize that you are not that young woman that you was 15 years ago, 10 years ago. You're not the same woman. And it's hard now because you're not with a man that's been with you that whole time and can appreciate your flaws and imperfections. Tell them about the men in your past that saw a future with you, and you knew they saw a future with you, and you didn't want to do it. And it was for some frivolous, superficial reason. It wasn't even for a real reason. And now you regret it. Tell them about the regret. Tell them they're gonna regret it. If they do not prioritize family, if they do not prioritize marriage, if they do not prioritize these things over and above a career, why? Because it will not benefit them in the long run. It don't fulfill you. She's still unfulfilled. Y'all young women need to ask why. Y'all young women need to ask why.
After all that was said by these three women, the lesson here for you men out there is to choose carefully, very carefully. If the marriage does not work out, you have a lot more to lose than the woman in most scenarios. So once again, choose wisely or do not choose at all. You see me? Hold tight. Me gone again.